Welcome to Tea Time on Tatooine. We're doing something a little bit different tonight, but with Acolyte coming out week to week, it doesn't really make sense to keep coming out with podcasts every other week and not talk about it. So I am here with my husband, Nick, who I talk about often on the podcast, and we're going to talk about tonight's episode of Acolyte. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. It's so nice to be on the pod.
You'll be on a proper episode eventually.
This isn't a proper episode?
It's a different episode. It's a different kind of proper.
Okay. Well, look forward to being proper.
But now everyone can see your beautiful face. Well, let's talk about tonight first.
Okay.
And then we can kind of go back.
Go backwards. All right.
We'll go backwards.
All right.
The show did that. Tonight's episode did that. It is a flashback episode.
The flashback filler. Yeah.
So I did say after the first scene of the first episode, I said, if we don't get Carrie Ann Moss in flashbacks, I will never forgive this show.
I was so physically angry. I even said, I'm going to say it. I said, there's no fucking way they killed her. And you said, she might not be dead. She might not be dead.
No, she's not dead. She's just playing possum.
And then the next scene, the Jedi comes into the temple. It's like,
Indara's been
killed. Damn it.
So I don't know if you know this. Trinity was one of my biggest crushes in high school.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
But
Same.
one of the formative memories I have of knowing oh, I like women too. Watching The Matrix and seeing this vision in not pleather, vinyl, spandex. What is she wearing? Leather. She's wearing freaking leather. Oh, so to see her die.
I feel like that she had an impact on across genders on that regard. For sure.
I'm sure there are many straight women out there, like straight women out there who still have some weird unresolved feelings for Trinity. So anyway, I'm glad we got her in flashbacks. I hope we get to see some fighting in flashbacks, because that's really, she's so good at it.
She's great at it, but at the same time, I don't really want to see more flashbacks. I want to know what happens more in the story for sure, but I'm tired of flashbacks.
I need at least one more because we have some unresolved questions.
Yeah, definitely.
The biggest one for me, and as we go and we do more of these, we'll figure out the best way to go about them. And the best way to go about them will probably be to go through the episode scene by scene. But right now, I'm not going to do that.
FYI. We're starting at number 3.
So many spoilers.
We're going to talk about everything.
So many spoilers. But
how did the witches die?
Okay. Yeah. Because they clearly did not burn to death.
Nope.
They were not burnt and crispy.
Nope.
They were not crushed beneath anything.
We didn't see lightsaber burn marks.
We didn't see lightsaber burn marks.
No blaster marks. Not the Jedi's blasters.
They were in areas too large to have been killed by smoke inhalation and ventilated. And as Osha's walking through that tunnel underground, you hear a collective gasp, and it sounded like they just all died.
Yep. And
you had a thought of how you think they died.
They're talking about this bunta tree and how it's dangerous and it's poisonous. And I can only think that that's the only thing that's there.
But how did they get it into their systems?
I don't know, but it seems like the bunta can be used in different ways. It can be crushed up. I forget the character's name. Khmer, is that the character's name?
Which one?
I'm screwing this up.
Oh, the apothecary guy that you think might be the Sith Lord.
That is
an
internet conspiracy right now.
I see a very strong argument for it.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Especially
the way that he disarmed May in the alley when she thought that he betrayed her.
Well, and the part when he's all, I'm a bumbly alchemist or a weird guy that gets you there. I'm a drug dealer. And then he goes up to Osha and goes, you look just like her.
Yep.
And then the Jedi come in and he's like, oh no, I'm still bumbly guy. I don't know my ass or my elbow. But he clearly knew that was not May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't really seem bothered by it, but more intrigued.
So if he isn't the Sith master, or we don't even know if it's a Sith, we just know May has a master with a red blade. So probably a Sith. If he's not that person, he is way more than he seems.
Possibly, or it's just a typical strong misdirect. Like,
I'd be okay with it being a misdirect, but I still think he needs to be more than he seems.
I would like for him to be. I mean,
I like that actor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to the beginning of the episode, when Osha's sitting under the tree and May is like, it's dangerous. She says, only if you eat it. So do we know? I guess we don't know, like, can it be absorbed through skin contact? We do know it has to be ingested quickly after being distilled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has a half-life.
I guess so. Yeah.
That's what they said in the previous episode.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
Like, if it sits in a poison vial for too long, it will lose potency. And
gotcha.
After a certain amount of time, you can drink it and it won't hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, the way
they weren't that specific.
The way we heard the group gasp, it made me think maybe it was like turned into a gas of some kind, like aerosolized. Or maybe the coven did that weird culty coven thing, and it was mass suicide. Mass suicide. I don't know.
I don't buy it. There's such a sense of preservation.
Yeah.
Like, they were driven out. They said they were exiled. Oh, there's a cat over there. So if you hear meowing, that's Obi-Wan. Yeah. Very on brand. They said they were exiled. They like found this place. They were really, really careful to stay off of the Republic and specifically the Jedi's radar. I don't buy that they all killed themselves.
It's a stretch.
And trying to pass on.
Yeah, they're trying to preserve the coven.
They're trying to preserve the coven. And I did like, actually, it's like the second note I wrote. I enjoyed seeing a same-sex relationship that wasn't in the last 30 seconds of Rise of Skywalker, where they're like doing like
throwaway kiss.
They're doing the wrap up, and they're like, "Oh, let's make them gay." And just like, okay, fine. That was nice. And I know there are other, like, in books and comics, and I think even in the cartoons there are other same sex relationships, but like this was a little more central, and it was live action. And if there is another same sex relationship in a live action TV show that I'm missing, I'm so sorry. This was the first one that I could think of. And it was nice to see.
Yeah, it was great.
Who is their father? They don't have a father. How did she make those twins?
Okay, first of all, Jodie Turner-Smith.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
She's so good.
She's fantastic.
She's so good.
Stunningly gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
She just looks like a goddess, like carved
even with a tattoo in the middle of her forehead.
Incredible.
And a scar down the middle of her face.
But I felt so much emotion from her too, as the mother, and I think just being torn, watching her child like consciously make this decision to walk away and being supportive of that. Incredible.
We think being supportive of that. She said, I'll take it to the rest of the council or coven.
Yep. We don't know.
But I think this was my favorite episode so far.
I agree.
The acting was fantastic.
Yep.
These twins, this was another note I wrote down. So obviously the present day twins are played by the same actor. Mm-hmm. So they are beyond identical. They're actually the same. So in the initial, the first episode where Osha's walking around the planet and she's cold, and she kind of has like the vision of her twin and then herself as a younger person, and they look different. My initial thought was, they're not identical. That's weird. Mm-hmm. Why are they not identical? And beginning of this episode, same thing. It's a weird choice. But then in the extended conversations back and forth between the two of them, it occurred to me how hard it would be to tell the difference. Like, wait, which one is May? May's the one who is happy and wants to stay. Osha's the one that is unhappy and wants to go. And it just made, as an audience member, and maybe this is a little bit of like a shortcut, but it was just a hell of a lot easier to track with them looking different.
I was not able to really track that for probably half of the episode. I could not figure out like who's grumpy now. Like they were bickering so much back and forth. They're like the epitome of like why people don't like some kids is the way that they were fighting. And it got a little on my nerves. But at the same time, I think the two actors that played the twins, they are related.
Oh yeah, they're twins for real.
Yeah, and
Leah
I think that
and something else, Brady.
Yes,
Leah and Lauren, Leah and Brady.
We'll get better at this.
Yeah. But yeah, Osha is the unhappy one. May is the happy one.
I guess.
I mean, May is unhappy at the end when she's like, I'm going to kill you rather than let you go.
Yeah, fuck May. My God.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere.
A little bit.
So
also, that fire came out of nowhere.
I mean, it was clearly, but she already got her mom's magic. Like she had the mark, like she had already been given the magic. So my guess is, because like you said, when we were watching it, you said, why is the stone burning? And my thought was like, maybe it's carved out of wood. I don't know. I think now that possibly it was like magic fire. Like she started the fire normally, and now she has all this magic and all this power because she's inherited her mom's power from the coven. And so it might be like magic fire.
Just going to explain things with magic. That's the Star Wars way.
It's literally a coven of witches.
Literally
a coven of witches.
I know.
And I do this a lot where I will like justify certain things or try to explain things because I just don't understand them. And it's like, it's sci-fi. It's this galaxy far, far away. Like physics are different. There's fire in space. It's fine. Get over it. But in this case, there are actual witches with magic. We don't know the rules of their magic. So, hey, they get a lot of latitude with that. I
guess. I mean, I think it's a great way to avoid being accountable story-wise. Yeah, I don't know. Also, that little chant that they were doing in the ceremony was cheesy.
It was a little cheesy.
It was so cheesy.
It was a little cheesy. Multiple times, the first note I wrote down as we were watching, multiple times in this show, not just in this episode, but in previous episodes, I've thought very explicitly, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you
said that out loud with the tree.
I did. Yep. I did with the tree. It was stunning. And there were a few, and the setting of the chant that they were doing, excuse me, don't want to burp into the mic.
Thank you.
Was also beautiful. And like the moons and the clips and everything.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful.
I don't know what they were on. It was like a ruin of some kind, some ancient temple or
and their coven's
volcano.
Like, yeah. It almost looked like the ruin of a dam or some like large person created thing. It didn't look like a natural.
Did not look natural.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. I do think we're going to get at least one more flashback episode because what we saw. Okay, the Jedi were dicks in that episode.
Oh, fuck the Jedi.
Complete and off, like.
That's why the Jedi suck.
But setting that aside for a moment.
Yep.
What the Jedi did in that episode did not warrant the Prince Tommen from Game of Thrones character. What's his name? Dean Chaplin Charlie Chaplin. Dean Chaplin Thomas.
We'll get better at this.
Dean.
Harry Dean Chapman
Thomas. Dean Chapman. I think that's right.
Just Tommen. It's
Tommen. Prince Tommen.
Tommen.
What we saw the Jedi do would not be enough to motivate that guy to like struggle through the next 6 years of his life, then take a vow of silence for 10 years, and then willingly commit suicide when presented with poison.
Yeah.
So we are going to get another flashback, I believe.
For sure. And
it's going to explain what the fuck they did. I got to make a prediction
here. I think what we just saw tonight was Osha's point of view and what she experienced. I think the next flashback will be May's point of view.
I think you're right.
And probably her experience.
I think that makes sense. I also think that it was not accidental that May gave Master Torpin the poison from the Bunta tree.
Yeah.
Because if it's true that that's how all of the witches died, and if the Jedi were somehow complicit in that, then that would make sense why Torpin was so eager to take that.
Yeah. It makes it a little more poetic, for sure.
It makes it a little more poetic.
Yeah.
I also did not recognize him at all in the last episode. I was like, who's this guy with the weird
it was
fake
so bad.
beard
it was so bad.
And the weird receding hairline?
He looked like a baby dressed up like an old man. It was terrible.
This is
a
so
little
confusing.
rascal. What is going on?
I don't understand. And now that I see him in the flashback, I'm like, it's Prince Tommen.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have
Man.
given him better fake hair and fake beard?
16 years isn't that long.
It's not that. I mean, it's long enough to get a receding hairline, sure.
Sure, but I mean, they really tried to make him look like an old man.
He did also have this really rad scar and like a milky eye.
Yep.
And I hope we get to see that, just because that's a gnarly injury. It would be kind of cool to see.
If it happened that night, then maybe we will.
Yeah, but there were 6 years before he took his vow of silence. So like, who knows what he got up to in that.
That's a lot of time.
It is a lot of time.
Yep.
But I think they're complicit. Clearly Soul is not having trouble sleeping at night.
No, I feel like his conscience is clear. So maybe he does not have any idea what happened.
Or maybe he feels so truly justified in what they did, whatever it was. Indara also seemed maybe not to, because when she faced off against May, she recognized her when she saw the mark, but she really claimed to like not have done anything wrong or being able to justify in her mind what they did.
Yeah, but I mean, from that character's reaction, I got more like, oh, psychopath vibes, and less, I don't know why you're angry vibes.
Yeah.
And she was clearly the leader of that group going in there as well.
Yes, absolutely. She was the only one with a Padawan, which doesn't really mean anything. A lot of masters like can go a few years or however long between Padawans. So that's not terribly odd. But Kalbaka, Chewbacca, the Wookiee.
Yeah.
We'll get better at this.
Wookbaka.
I think it's Kalnaka.
Kalnaka. It is Kalnaka.
Yeah, Kalnaka. Yeah. He seems to maybe also be struggling present day because it looked like pretty much exiled himself and is living like a hermit on the planet where those scavengers are, and he like force grabs their gun and so cool.
It looks like he did a Yoda.
He looks like he did a Yoda.
Yep.
But he looks a little crankier than Yoda. Maybe it's just a size thing.
All Wookiees seem cranky to me. I don't know.
Yeah. When they're saying, it's so nice to see you. How are you? I'm just like, it's been a long time. If you don't speak Wookiee, then it's just
everything sounds bad.
Everything sounds bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole I really enjoy reading Wookiee points of views in the books and comic books because they often are frustrated at not being understood.
Oh, language barriers are real.
Language barriers are real. Yeah, it's tough. What else did I write down?
Oh no, it's right there.
It's right there. Let's see, what else did I write down? Oh, it was interesting to see a different point of view of witches because in mainstream, I mean, there's so many different like degrees of mainstream. If you think of the mainest stream being the 9 movies, and then in live action, we've really only seen, as far as witches go, the Dathomirian, the Night Sisters of Dathomir. But there are a bunch of other clans on Dathomir, including the Mountain Clan, where Morgan Elsbeth ended up in
Ahsoka.
Tales of the Empire.
Oh, Tales of the Empire. That's right.
Yeah. After that big Clone Wars battle where Dooku has to Grievous like completely wipe out the Night Sisters, she goes to live with the Mountain Clan, which we find out has magic, but Dathomir is steeped in the dark side. So even the witches that aren't Force users are still dark side adjacent. But this Mountain Clan and what we saw in that episode felt very light side.
Yeah, they felt more passive and more peaceful for sure.
But they had magic.
Yep.
Which was at least for me, the second kind of example of witchcraft that's not Jedi. And then in the comics and in the books, there's many, many, many other religious orders that have magic and use the Force or have relationships with the Force. I wonder, this just occurred to me, in the galaxy far, far away, in the in-universe world, any form of witchcraft, is that really just using the Force, but they're calling it something different, I wonder?
I'm going to say yes.
Like what Mother Talzin does as a Night Sister?
She literally said when she was talking to the girls, or she was instructing in that class, that some people call it magic, some people call it force.
But it's a thread.
It's the thread. I think it's the same thing.
I think it's the same thing, but it does make me wonder about Mother Taliesin, the leader of the Night Sisters, and what she does with her magic. Because she straight up voodoo dolled Count Dooku. Like, literally boiled him in water and, like, bent his legs and arms out. So is that her reaching out through the Force somehow? Or is there magic that is just not Force related?
I think it's all Force related. All of it.
Yeah.
If the Force is around and in every living thing and every object,
then you can manipulate it.
I think there are different ways that people abuse it. And I think, even the partner mother.
Coral.
No,
Coraline. Coral.
When she said, I carried them, and then the partner Coral said, I made them.
Oh, no, that was the other way around. Coral said, I carried them. Jodie Turner-Smith said, I made them.
I think that was the other way around.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You might have been looking down.
Which makes me think maybe, it's clearly magic, but I think it's using the Force as magic within, like, kind of their little covenant culture.
Could that be what happened with Anakin? Maybe did a witch make Anakin inside of Shmi?
I don't know. And does it have to be a witch? I mean, if it's just the Force, maybe Palps went down and, like, created Anakin somehow.
Abracadabra, Anakin.
Yep.
I don't think he had anything to do with that.
Maybe not, but I don't know.
I know a lot of people do.
I don't think. I mean, if it is really just the Force, then how much of it is added magic through the witchcraft?
Yeah,
I think you're just titling it witchcraft at that point.
But I did like, because the Dothamiri, the Night Sisters, for the most part, are pretty bad. Like, Ventress has a lot of shades of gray, and as her arc continues,
it's pretty dark gray.
Well, it started as kind of black.
Yep.
But then, as Dooku, like, shunned her, she had some dark, but then she really had to find herself and, like, became a bounty hunter and then didn't want to kill people anymore.
Yeah.
And it was very, and then she has that whole arc in the book that I've read that I've told you about. And then she finds out, whatever. She's no longer, like, evil.
Yeah. It doesn't make her good.
I didn't say she was good.
Yeah, I mean, if the only reason she's no longer
she has
hyper
grown.
Dark side is because she got rejected and couldn't become darker.
I don't think that's it. I think she got rejected because Palpatine thought, we are going down a Ventress tangent, and this is supposed to be a conversation about Acolyte.
True.
I want to do a podcast episode about Ventress. That's just Ventress. So let's put a pin in that.
Okay.
Because I love her, and go back to Acolyte.
Yep. Okay.
And can we go back to, because I said we'll table it, but the Jedi had no business being there.
No reason to be there whatsoever.
Not a Republic planet.
We don't know what brought them there.
No jurisdiction. What brought them there was that they heard rumor somehow that they were training children in their witchery. And they were like, children should not, the only people who should be indoctrinating children is us.
It's not what they said.
No.
But definitely what they meant.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Come on, dirtbag. Get out of here.
No, actually, it's probably better if they just come sit with us. Then they'll be. Yeah, that's not literally what they said, but that's exactly what they meant.
I agree.
When we do it, it's okay. When you do it, it's problematic.
Yeah, they feel like they have some weird entitled right to do it because they're Jedi. They can just travel around the universe testing these kids.
The hypocrisy of Indara saying straight-faced, we do not take children.
Yep.
It might have been, we don't kidnap children. We don't take, I don't remember the exact line, but she said, we do not take children. And it's like, yes, the fuck you do. That's all you do.
Saul said that he went there when he was 4.
Yes. Well, and oftentimes because the Jedi are like this really powerful order that everyone knows of and everyone fears because they know they're powerful. If you're, Joe Blow on some mid to outer rim planet and you are a villager, you have no power or status to speak of, and you have a baby, and these Jedi just show up and are like, we're going to test your baby. And then, oh, congratulations. You have a Force-sensitive child. We're going to take them now. They're going to have a great life. You will never see them again.
Yeah.
How much do you feel like you can stand up to that?
Probably not much.
Yeah. So what kind of
Especially if they have
consent
the
is that?
blessings of the Republic, which not everybody's a part of.
Which not everybody's a part of. But even if I'm on a mid to outer rim planet that is part of the Republic, I may not want my child to go to be taken.
Sure.
The child is too young to know what's going on because sometimes they do them as babies, like way too young to make any kind of decisions. 8 is too young to make that kind of decision, if you ask me. But that's I don't think that's consent. It's strong arming.
I mean, that's just straight up kidnapping.
I mean, but they're wrapping it in the guise of like, congratulations, we will take your child now.
Yeah.
Instead of like coming in the dead of night and, you know, absconding with a child. The result is the same, but like you can't say no to that kind of power.
Not at all.
That kind of organized with the backing of the Republic, like you said.
No, it's
dicks.
Awful. Like the Jedi are not the good guys.
Not in that episode, no.
No.
And I get that they are righteous and they think what they're doing is right. And maybe what they do is right, but that doesn't give them the right to impose it upon
totally
other people.
Yeah, there's never consent involved.
Yeah. Watch this, like this particular witch coven was exiled because they like genocided a solar system and are steeped in the blood of trillions, and the Jedi like know this and are coming to try and save these children from that life of like, and this whole time we're like, the Jedi are dicks.
Turn of events.
That would be an amazing turn of events. I think there's a 0% chance of that being
I don't
the
think
case.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Jinx.
I will say, I also think that this episode, I mean, it had that beautiful moment with the tree that you were like, oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The show so far looks great.
It's gorgeous.
As like just on its own. I mean, the opening scene when she's first in that village and she's walking through in the mountains in the background.
Amazing.
Incredible.
And the last scene when she's walking on the beach you see her master silhouetted. Beautiful.
Yeah, that was nice too. I didn't like the voiceover that was happening.
Yeah, you said that voice annoyed you.
Did.
You were also annoyed that they had a lightsaber while they're giving a speech about how you can't use a weapon to kill a Jedi.
No reason to whip that thing out. None.
I still maintain that's that person's way of being like, I have earned this. I am no longer an acolyte. I have earned the weapon. Until you can kill a Jedi without a weapon, you don't get one.
I think there was different words.
I think there were different words. That's not what they said. That's what I
think the script was changed. And I don't think it really matches what's happening. That's what I mean.
I see. So you think when you said, I think those are different words. I thought you were telling me, Anna, that's not what they said. I'm like, I know, Nick. I know that's not what they said.
No. I think they changed the script after they shot it. And the voiceover doesn't really match. Huh. And I don't like that. This bothers me not just in this show, but when movies and TV shows do this, where like there's a scene where somebody's walking and you hear somebody talking. Mm-hmm. And it's clearly like, ooh, this is intense. This is, ooh, what's happening? And then you see, oh, it's supposed to be this other person who's like 140 feet away with crashing waves. And you hear this like really close voice. Then there's apparently having a conversation. No, you're not. You're not talking over the ocean. You're not whispering words and instruction that far away.
But devil's advocate.
Always.
You're watching a movie. You're talking about Tomorrow War, aren't you? yes, you're talking about Tomorrow War. So the plot necessitated her being at that place at that time.
Yeah.
And then just as a movie maker, you're like, well, the audience has to hear what she's saying. And having a bunch of like waves and shit isn't going to work. So that's one of those, okay,
we have to do this.
We have to do this.
Get that.
I'm okay with that.
It bothers me every time.
I know. You're too literal.
Yeah. Maybe it's magic voices. I don't know.
You don't hear voices in your head?
Every day.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. And they bother you. They don't bother me.
Yeah.
Got it. I think that's the difference between you and me. I like the voices.
Yeah. I try to ignore them. I do. Yeah. I do.
I do think this was some of the best acting. I really liked the de-aging.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved Soul's relationship with Osha. I like it in present day, and I liked it in this time as well. They clearly have an immediate connection,
Mm-hmm.
which is not encouraged in the Jedi Order to have connections of that sort.
Yeah, this is bothering me too.
I'm surprised they allowed him to take her on as a Padawan, considering he immediately was like cared for her.
It's bothering me that we're seeing the same issues between Jedi's or amongst Jedi's 100 years ago as we saw in Phantom Menace. It's still attachment. It's still weird bureaucracy and like trying to like protect the Republic in some way.
But that's been their struggle forever.
And I'm tired of it. It's the same struggle.
Yeah, but don't you think
it's 100 years ago, which, you know, it's a long-ish time. It's not that long for Jedi. Like Master Yoda's walking around somewhere.
He is.
Like we'll probably
He's on
see
sabbatical.
him.
I don't think we're going to see him.
I think there's a good chance that we see him because.
I think he will be referenced. Someone will make a reference to like him, because in some of the comic books, and I think in one of the books, they talk about him like he's typically on the council, but he's on basically sabbatical. Like he's off doing some Yoda shit.
He's gonna pop up in like the last episode.
I doubt it.
Hear about all this shit that's been going on, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, well, I hope we don't make that mistake again."
Make that mistake again. I hope we do not. I get that annoys you, that that's an issue that they're facing now and an issue that they're facing in the prequels now, meaning Acolyte. But I think that's the point. I think that's why the Jedi Order ultimately fails, because it doesn't adapt. And we were talking about this a bit last night, and you had wanted to see more, you wanted to see something different.
Yeah.
And my argument was that the Order isn't wildly different. They're just stronger. There are more of them. Their connection to the Force is stronger. Their powers are stronger. Their ability to do things. I mean, I'm now repeating myself, but I don't think it's wildly like just different shit. I think it's just stronger stuff. But wait, I'm almost done. Sorry. I think their inability to evolve and adapt and recognize their bureaucratic shortcomings, like, oh, Soul, we don't make decisions like that. We have to have meaningful conversations. And it's like, but we know where she's going. We should go there. Like they're getting caught up in bureaucratic red tape. Big weakness in the prequels and something that brings them down. Their inability to deal with what it's like to have human attachments. I mean, the whole like Anakin turning against the Order was about a human attachment. And if they had been able to better navigate that relationship with him as a young man, he could have come to Yoda and been like, hey, I'm afraid she's going to die. And Yoda would have been like, let's talk about that. But he couldn't go to Yoda because he's not allowed to have. So all of these are lessons that the Jedi have not learned from.
Yeah. And it bothers me so much because it bothers me on a couple different levels. First, it bothers me because you're saying that the Jedi are different in these ways. They're more powerful. There's more of them.
Yes.
We don't see that in the show.
I think we see that they're more powerful.
I would argue that we don't. I think you've read enough of the old Republic stories and the books and the comics and whatnot and all the extra stuff. I have not. I would not think that they're more powerful based on what I've watched. You know, I wish that they looked different. I wish that they were different. I think 100 years, again, maybe it's too close to what we've already seen.
Maybe.
The lightsabers are a little bit different. They're a little bit bigger.
Their robes seem more ceremonial.
I don't care about their robes, but yeah, their robes are whiter. One guy presses them for some reason, steams them.
Shirtless for no fucking reason.
I mean, you know exactly why I was shirtless. But yeah, I mean, there's no big difference.
Yeah.
And I want them to have been different. And I'll go back to this, and I'm a big believer. This is, I think, part of the reason why people are not connecting with this show kind of as a whole is that it's the same stories. It's the same struggles. It's just attachment, and it's emotions getting in the way and not being able to reconcile that. And I get that, yeah, maybe that's a struggle. Maybe that's the ultimate downfall of the Jedi, is their pride and their blindness to it.
Their
And
blindness.
their inability to, be both Jedi monk and a regular human, and not see that that could add strength, not just weakness. And if that's the whole point of this show, that's the underlying point, the Star Warsy part of it, it's not enough. It's boring. Because everything else has to be so much stronger. Like, I've got to care about these twins so much now. Star Wars or not, I got to care about the story so much more. And it's okay.
I mean, it's still early days. I thought that tonight's episode was really good. But let's be real. This show could be a steaming pile of garbage and I would watch till the very end.
Yeah.
And I'd still enjoy it. Even if I knew that it was a steaming pile of garbage and was able to admit it was a steaming pile of garbage, I would still.
We willingly watched the second part of Rebel Moon, and we knew that was going to suck.
Well, I feel like you kind of cajoled me into that. I would have been just as happy not watching that.
I still need a shower after watching that.
Again. All of that is to say, though, I don't think Acolyte is a steaming pile of garbage. It's got some issues.
Was it yesterday or after we watched the first 2 episodes and we were talking about it? Mm-hmm. And you had said there's a lot of backlash because there's no white men.
Except for Prince Tommen.
What? And I just did not catch that.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And I still, it boggles my mind that that's a thing.
It boggles my mind that you didn't notice. I think it says a lot, and I mean this as a compliment. I think it says a lot about you that the lack of people that look like you in this show did not register for you.
I think other places in the world and in Star Wars land, there's been plenty of representation where I can see myself. So maybe I'm fulfilled enough in other places.
I mean, people of color, people who are not white men or white people, white women, I guess often get used to not seeing themselves.
Yeah.
So you could be a young Black girl and watch 10 movies and not see a single Black person, and it might not register with you because you've been conditioned to think that's normal. That's starting to change more and more. Obviously, still lots of work to be done there. But the fact that you, who historically should be used to seeing you everywhere in all the movies and all the TV shows, you saw something that didn't have anyone in it that looked like you. And it didn't make you feel uncomfortable, because a lot of the vitriol I've been reading online is there's no white male representation, is missing. And it's yes, that's right. Aww. Prince Tommen was there with the dumb shit hair and beard. And
these bright white snowflakes are just melting.
They're so sad. I even looked, honestly, at this point, if it's Kathleen Kennedy trolling the trolls, I fucking love her for that. If I don't think that's what this is, but if it is, and the reason I say this is when we watched the episodes again a second time last night, the little kids the younglings that Soul was talking to, there was not a little white boy. Because I looked, it was all aliens.
Yeah.
There, I think, was a white girl, maybe 2, and people of color, children of color. It was. Someone is trolling.
Star Wars is more diverse the older you go, apparently. The further back you go in history.
Yeah. Well, the Empire is famously xenophobic and anti-alien. Historically misogynistic, although shows like Andor, I think, are changing that with characters like Dedra Mira. And in the Thrawn books, Thrawn has a commander under him who has her own Imperial Star Destroyer who is a woman. But yeah, no one likes him. He's the only alien with a high ranking. And they let him know that they fucking hate him because he's an alien. Oh, so yeah, High Republic was much more diverse. Also, this was a time when the Republic was growing. The Republic was expanding. Like the Outer Rim was not always part of the Republic. So a big thing that you read often, like in the internal monologue, will be, you know, a character of one species is talking about maybe after my shift, I'll go to the bar and ask out that nice Twi'lek bartender. And I know she's Twi'lek and I'm a whatever other thing, but we're all the Republic, right? Like this is it's a new time. Like we're part of the Republic. She's part of the Republic. Like so it is a time of more like bringing cultures together, sharing resources, trying to do all that happy, cheery stuff. And of course, there are bad people around who fuck things up.
Well, I feel like it's still like they're trying to introduce more, I guess, degrees of what could be bad and what the struggle is, and not just a representation of classic Nazis.
Yeah.
In the Empire. Like there has to be other baddies besides just Nazis. Nazis are pretty fucking bad and like fuck Nazis, but at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, and that was a critique with the sequels was it was like you just brought back the Empire and called it something different. But they're still fascists.
The third Death Star.
They're still fascists. They're still like the third Death Star. This was the Death Star. This is Star Killer Base. Like, oh.
Yep.
Sorry, I still loved Force Awakens. I don't care who knows it.
No, it was great.
It was fantastic. Acolyte. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying it.
The fight scenes.
The fight scenes are so good.
It's
new fighting.
It is. It's not just like great lightsabery sword play. It's like
no.
I want to find out who the stunt coordinator is in the fight choreography, because it really feels like they're going for kind of that Hong Kong style of martial arts like sequencing.
Yeah.
It's really long, choreographed really well, and just it's different. It feels very different.
The closest, so we haven't seen a lightsaber pulled in battle, except when Indara like deflects the knives.
Yeah, and
so we haven't seen lightsabers clash.
And what's his face, shirtless guy, used his as a torch.
Yeah, but yes, Yorn. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. We'll get better at this.
Peter, Yorn, and John.
Using it as a torch, but not used in combat.
Right.
The only time we've seen, I think, anything close to that style of combat was in Obi-Wan, when Third Sister is facing off against Vader, and she is just flying at him, going on the attack, and he's just like barely fighting back. He's just on the defensive, and all he really needs to do is shift and move, and she just like flies furiously around him.
Yeah.
This is like that, but more.
Yeah, and it feels like there's a lot more footwork, and wire work is done really well. It did bother me. The opening fight scene was fantastic. I felt like that stair railing run could have been better. That bothered me a little bit. I'm not a stunt person. I don't run up rails. I'm not. I don't do falls. I don't.
Who did I marry?
But like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is like 20 plus years old.
Yeah.
And I feel like that choreography still outshines a lot of what's going on today.
Yeah. So you're specifically talking about just this little bit where Indara like hops up onto the second floor.
Yeah, I think it was even better in Kill Bill. Like it just seemed a little clunky and a little not quite there.
See, I liked it, but I think I don't notice things like that the way you do. Like one of my I'm glad I don't have many followers, because I think like saying what I'm about to say would get me like destroyed in comments if I had a lot of followers. That fight scene in Last Jedi with Rey and Kylo Ren against the First Order Snoke's guard.
Garbage.
You hate it. And you are not the only one. And tons of people are like, that is the worst fight in Star Wars history.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Here are all the things that are bad about it. I've even seen video breaking down step by step, piece by piece, why it is the worst fight in Star Wars.
That is like the Venn diagram right there of like bad choreography and awful special effects. All in one.
Love that fight scene.
It could have been so good. I love the setting. It was gorgeous.
It's a really, really tense and important moment of the story.
Yep.
like they're both at a crossroads. Kylo Ren could go one of two ways. Rey could go one of two ways.
Yep.
I loved it. And I think it's because I don't know enough to know that it was bad. And so I'm gonna hold on to that and enjoy that I love it. And I'm sad you don't love it, but you just know
There are
more
parts
about
of it that I really like. I do like the scene. I like the stakes.
Yeah.
I like that you don't know like what's going to happen. Is he coming
she
over?
Gonna take
is
his
she
hand?
going over?
Who knows?
Like that was great. And there are some really fantastic elements.
Yeah.
And some of the worst elements I've ever seen.
I do think maybe my ADD is contagious because we're not talking about the Acolyte.
We were talking about the fight scenes in the Acolyte, which are great.
Yes, yes.
I am curious why she's just so stuck on these little daggers. It's like throwing knives, daggers that she uses. Like
I think she's just really. It's been drilled into her that she can't use weapons, so she's using really like limiting weapons.
Maybe that's what was supposed to be said on the beach scene. You want one of these?
You got to fight with one of these first.
Go get me some Jedi.
Have you seen the meme that's like, that's not a knife, this is a knife, and then Crocodile Dundee holds up like the giant.
That's good.
I'll find that.
Nice. No, I'm excited for where this could go, for sure.
I love Soul, man. I think he's my favorite. He's so great.
I do. I like him too, and I think he's doing a great job. He has tremendous chemistry. He really does.
Yeah.
And God, so much comes through in his eyes. Just there's so much warmth and there's so much
eyes.
Very kind eyes.
It makes me want to go watch some of his better known Korean content because he's very prolific in Korean films. And I mean, Squid Games, obviously, which like had a massive crossover appeal, but like I would like to go and see him in other things.
Yeah, I'm curious to see him in other things too. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and we talked about this before. My friend is Korean, and he said that there is kind of a big disconnect in what he is saying and the emotions not fully coming across. And I don't know if anybody can tell. I am not Korean. I'm not an expert on this.
No.
Yeah, no. Shocking. So this is a white guy's rehashing of a Korean man's
rehashing of another Korean person's acting.
But apparently the Korean language in general is so connected to emotions in how it's delivered and the intensity. And so I guess the disconnect and kind of the issue is that Lee Jung-jae, his primary language is not English and did not speak English before this role. Apparently spent a lot of time, close to a year, learning these lines and learning what they meant. Would not say he learned English, but he learned what he was saying and what was behind it.
And presumably the meaning of the words that were being said to him.
Presumably.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's still an issue with, I had a hard time in the first episode because there were some delivery points where I just didn't really buy it.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks so much to his performance and his ability to just emote and present that I still felt so much warmth and so much care. And I got bought into that character.
He's still our favorite character.
Yeah. And that's enough to really make him shine above everybody else in the show.
Yeah.
The only other one that I think really does compete is the lead.
Osha. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Osha May. It's the same actress.
Amandla Stenberg?
Amanda Stenberg, yeah.
Amandla.
Yeah, Amandla. And she does a tremendous job. I think she's really, really good.
I completely agree. And I really liked her in The Hate You Give. Broke my heart.
In that prison transport. They came out of hyperspace in the middle of an asteroid field.
They did. And we even went back because I was like, well, maybe they were like passing an asteroid field. And when they left, she kind of wandered into it. No, they exited directly in an asteroid field.
That is a line that Han Solo says. Like, that is a risk. Like, you don't do this without proper navigation, or you're going to go with light speed through an asteroid field.
Yeah.
Like, all going to die.
Yeah, you can't, hyperspace lanes can't have shit in them.
No.
However, actually...
Where were they going?
I think they were going to Coruscant.
They were going to Coruscant, but they were going through an asteroid field.
But now I think maybe there is an explanation. Maybe when weird robot, uh, whatever their compatriot with the weird robot stuff who like took over the droids with his mind, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe when he did that, it fucked up the navigation and it brought them out in like a place they shouldn't have been.
I think
I no. Do I think that that was a consideration that the showrunners took when they made that decision? Probably not. Is that an explanation that makes sense in my head? Yes. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt that they've thought that through, though. So you're right. You're right. It's nonsense. They came out in the middle of an asteroid field. It is. And I am the first to admit, and I admit it on my upcoming episode, I do mental gymnastics to back my way into making things make sense. However, the difference is once I back into the thing that makes sense and I can go, oh, there is an explanation, however wacky and how many weird twists and turns you have to get to that explanation. There's an explanation. That feels like a relief to me. However, I often don't think that the creator had that in mind. I think there's a lot of like, and this is in any franchise, there's a lot of lazy writing. Just because I need it to make sense in my brain, it doesn't mean I forgive the show or the movie or the whatever for doing the dumb thing.
Yeah.
I needed to have that asteroid thing make sense in my brain. So I said, maybe the droid thing like messed up the navigation and it came out in the wrong spot. Yes, that is an explanation that makes sense in my brain. I don't, but it doesn't make me forgive the show for doing it.
Yeah. And I think this is also, I think Star Wars has this kind of unique problem because what other, aside from like the Marvel universe, what other story, show, excuse me, property has this much content, has this many movies, this many TV shows, this many books?
Yeah.
Like there's so much. So you're bound to have contradictions.
Totally.
This was just, it's such an egregious one because it's in the first movie. And that statement was said and that warning about the asteroid field. So it seems like a no-brainer to do that. But at the same time,
that's also a rule all the time.
It's a rule all the time.
That's not a rule that's set to the OG. Like there's a huge, massive, like galaxy-wide disaster that occurs because something ends up in hyperspace and a ship crashes into it.
Oh.
Which should be impossible. But it sends fragments of a very large ship, some with people alive inside of it, of them, hurtling out of hyperspace at just sub-light speed. Planets are destroyed. Billions of people die in many solar systems because a ship, actually, no, the ship didn't crash into it. The ship avoided it by doing that. But when you try to steer an old ship in hyperspace, the ship came apart. It was called the Legacy Run, and it was called the Legacy Run Disaster because the Legacy Run was the name of the ship. So there's a whole story arc just around what happens when things are in hyperspace lanes that shouldn't be there. So like,
interesting.
That's lazy writing.
Yeah. And I like mystery and I like not knowing things, especially in fantasy and sci-fi. Like it's kind of the hallmarks of what makes a great fantasy sci-fi is like, you don't get all of the answers. But it doesn't leave a big enough void that's a problem. It's like, I don't know how the cars were flying around in Blade Runner. They didn't talk about that. But it's so fucking rad. And it blew my mind. Same thing with Alien. Like there's so much in Alien that we don't fully know.
Yeah.
And it makes it better.
Yeah. I did like seeing the ship kind of ping pong its way through the asteroid field. From a just pure entertainment value, I enjoyed that.
I think it's nice to know that if you do find yourself in a spaceship hurtling out of control, crashing into a planet, all you gotta do is put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. Also, when they're walking around in the wreckage and they're like, no one could have survived this. It's like, it doesn't look so bad.
Yeah. There's not blood everywhere. Like, what are you talking about?
It should have been more smoking.
Yep.
Or more charred.
or just dust,
or like debris everywhere, or like really, really torn up. But no, it just looked like things had been jostled around a bit.
No, I think that's Star Wars magic is the spaceship crashes. There's
oh gosh,
so
like that
so many
opening scene of Revenge of the Sith when
it just rides that fireball down
just
there.
down and just like gets to the end of the runway.
I mean, how they couldn't steer anything, why it wound up on a quote unquote runway, I don't understand. I think they just smeared tens of thousands of people
Oh, absolutely.
on the surface of that planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We should do like a Man of Steel collateral death.
A body count?
A body count.
Oh my God.
Because there's just so...
It would take too long.
It would take too long. That's how I feel about Star Wars when things happen that don't make sense. Like, look, a monster. Yeah. George Lucas wanted to have fire in space. It had fire in space. Return of the Jedi had literal flames coming out of the Star Destroyer.
It bothers me every time.
I know it bothers you every time. There were flames in the first episode of this, and I know it bothered you. There's burning shrapnel in Revenge of the Sith and the opening space battle. Like there's so much precedent for fire in space, but it's like, it's not the same galaxy we're in. Who knows what their rules are? Who gives a shit? It's Star Wars.
It's hard. And maybe this is the other problem too, is that, thank you. Is that, I think we were having this conversation, not to get sidelined again, but
maybe you do have ADD.
I'm sure I do. I know I do. 100%. The issue that a lot of people had with Force Awakens and with Rey's just magic abilities to fly, having been a scavenger, not really, we don't know that she's ever been on a functioning ship. And then out of nowhere, we can just jump onto the Millennium Falcon. We can fly, not very well, but she knows how to fly. She can fix the compressor. She knows what that, like all that stuff.
Sure.
And you said Luke could fly.
Yeah.
And I never thought about this until you brought this up. I was born in 1980, and Luke and the whole original series cast of characters, abilities, has been with me since I was born. And Luke could always fly. Always.
I'm not such a bad pilot.
And you know what? I'm older now. And now I'm looking at things and I'm like, how does that make sense? I never asked that question about Luke because I was a fucking child.
Yeah.
And I think now the older I get, I'm like trying to apply my older reasoning and logic to something that probably doesn't deserve it.
Now, I know what I'm about to say sounds like mental gymnastics, but in this scenario, I actually think it was intentional on the part of the creator and not just some weird leap that my brain took. Rey's a scavenger of downed ships. Yeah. So she's been doing this her whole life. And yes, she's young, but she's got years of like scavenging in different types of ships, multiple versions of different types of ships. She's intimately familiar with the hardware. She's a gearhead. She takes the hardware, she cleans it, she gives it to Unkar Plutt for portions. Like she's
how many portions?
One quarter portion. She knows her shit because she's been doing this theoretically.
Yeah.
She clearly has a lot of apprehension when she's flying the first time. It's not like she's confident. It's not like she's walking in with like, I got this. She's more like, I guess
she's driving mom's station wagon.
I guess she's like
the fenders are on everything.
I mean, so I guess it would be like someone who's played a lot of car video games getting in a car and being like, I can do this, but with the added benefit of the Force. She's clearly scared, but I think that there's a perfectly good explanation for why she's able to fly and why she knows how the things work and what they're called, because she knows the mechanics, she knows the pieces. And Luke, the argument would be all of his friends are in like fighter pilot academy training, whatever. Yeah. And he hangs out with his friends and maybe he picked up some information from them. Both of those explanations for both of those characters, I find plausible enough that I don't feel like I'm being an apologist for believing those things. No, there are plenty of other things that I will willingly, happily go, I know this is nonsense. I need to explain things because I need to understand them in my own wacky brain. But those things make sense to me.
No, and I think Who's Luke's best friend?
Biggs.
And I think when...
Rest in peace, Biggs.
R.I.P. Biggs. I think when Biggs is introducing Luke to kind of the commander and says, "This is Luke. He's one of the best pilots I know." Like, pilot of what?
At the arcades, Nick. They play at the video game arcades.
What ship is he piloting?
Land speeders?
Yeah, what? I that always bothered me. Even as a kid, that part bothered me because it was like, when?
But honestly, we don't know. And it's the same thing with Rey. Like, we don't know what they've been up to. We know that he's
wanted to leave the planet, be a starfighter. Like,
maybe he sneaks out his friends late at night when Owen and Beru are sleeping and flies. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what Rey gets up to. Who knows? Maybe she's flown the Millennium Falcon before and she would just take it out for a joyride when Carplett was snoring. You know that motherfucker snores.
So loud.
So loud.
Like, snores when he talks.
Oh,
it's
my
fine.
God. Yeah. Acolyte.
Yep.
I mean, overall positive vibes from me.
I'm an overall right down the middle. I can go either way.
Acolyte.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't help but give everything a thumbs up with Star Wars.
Look, this is hard. Like,
it has issues.
And everything will. And this is what's great and frustrating about all of Star Wars. You know, it means different things to different people for different reasons at different times. I think trying to make Star Wars fit what I need every time something new comes out, it's not fair. It's not realistic. Yeah. And I just have to take it as it comes and find the parts of it that I really like and focus on that. Mm-hmm. Ignore fire in space, even though it can't and shouldn't happen, and just ignore all the very egregious, sometimes shortcomings that happen. Because somebody else is going to watch this and it's going to blow their mind. It's going to inspire them in some way.
And going to be exactly what they need.
It's going to be exactly what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's art, man.
It's art. It's fart.
What?
I'm tired.
God. Okay. Yeah.
No, I think it's time to wrap up.
Cool.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Share it with all your friends.
Like and subscribe. Write a nice review. If you want to leave a bad review, please don't. Just fuck right off. And listen to Tea Time on Tatooine. There's a new episode that just came out on Monday. It's a music episode. It's very fun. It's very fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you have fun listening to it. And we will be back next week.
Yeah.
Unless we get doxxed. Catch us a week from tonight when we talk about episode 4 of The Acolyte.